What's up guys, Visual here, but you can call me James, and in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how you can make an eye-catching Fortnite thumbnail.
Make a far as I've come, yeah, want me back. I know they want me back. I see.
So guys, as you can see right now, I have the thumbnail open. This is what I will be showing you guys how to make within this video. First of all, I'm just going to say, if you don't want to watch the tutorial and you simply want a template, if we can get this video to 250 likes, I will leave a PSD in the description down below and you guys can simply edit the text. But I know a lot of you want to actually learn skills in Photoshop and you want to be able to learn how to make your own thumbnails. So if you do watch this video, it will certainly help you, whether you are a designer or whether you are a YouTuber, it really doesn't matter. If I open up the PSD here, you guys can see there's not too many layers involved. Of course, it's a thumbnail, you have to keep it kind of simple, which I have done, as you can see, but you want it to be a bit more complex at the same time, and you want it to be eye-catching to your viewers, which is exactly what this is. So without further ado, we're going to get started with how to actually make this. However guys, before we do get started with the actual tutorial, I'm just going to go ahead and say there is one thing you will need, and then there's something that is also optional. So first of all, the thing you will need is my resource pack. So I will leave this in the description down below. It's going to contain everything you will need to make this thumbnail. So it's got 2 background options, it's got the character I used, also the layer styles, just to go ahead and save some time when actually making and following along with the tutorial. You guys can make it a whole lot easier, and also it will help you out for future thumbnails. So go ahead and download this completely free in the description down below, and yeah, make sure you do that. Also, an optional feature is the Topaz Labs plugin. If you guys don't know what I'm referring to here, I know a lot of people already have it, but yeah, you will need it if you want this sort of effect. So if I zoom in here, you guys can see that the background has this sort of cartoon-like effect. If I go ahead and disable it, you can see what it normally looks like, and then what it does look like with the Topaz Lab effect. It's definitely really nice, and the effect I did use inside Topaz Labs is really simple to use as well. If I go ahead and open it up just to show you, it's the crisp style effect, and I just put the strength on 1, and it's as simple as that if you do already have it. However, if you don't, as I said, you can download it. It does, I think, yeah, it is a paid plugin. You guys can go ahead and get it for free, cough on YouTube, but I will not be showing you how to do that. You guys can look into that, but I do recommend purchasing it, of course, because it's a plugin, so it's definitely worth it. Regardless guys, we are going to get started on how to actually make this thumbnail. Let's open up a brand new document. The width is of course going to be 1:80 in pixel size, and the height is going to be 720, and the resolution 72. This is just a standard thumbnail sizing. Also, you don't really have to change the resolution up to increase the quality. That doesn't really do much. That's more like DPI stuff. So just make sure it's on like 72, the default, and you can press create. And as you guys can see, you'll have a blank canvas to work with. So the first thing I always do when I have a blank canvas is make the background plain black. So we can do that by double clicking on it, opening up the layer styles, and just going to color overlay and making the color of this pure black. Press OK, OK again, and you can right click on the layer and rasterize it. There's many ways to make the background black, but this is just the way I do it, of course, and you can go ahead and rename your layers if you wish. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is grab our background. Now, as I said, they are included in the resource pack in the link in the description, or you guys can go ahead and find your own backgrounds. I'll leave a link to this site which has 59 Fortnite wallpapers on there, and also I'll leave a link to this like Reddit post where it has image screenshots of 5K Fortnite wallpapers. As you guys can see, these are really high quality if we click on each one of these. So depending on what thumbnail you are making, you can choose another one, but I just went with the first 2. You need to drag and drop your background into Photoshop. As you guys can see, you can go ahead and name it, but I'm just going to keep it how it is named now, and we're going to rasterize this layer just to make it easy to edit. So just right click, rasterize layer, and that will do that for you. You want to go ahead and add your character into the background. So if we open up the pack, as you guys can see, I left the PNG of the character that I used, which is one of the new characters inside Fortnite. So I'm going to press Control- to zoom out of the document a little, and I'm going to press, as you can see, Control-T on my keyboard to actually highlight this and be able to change the size. And now if you hold down Shift, you can increase the size using your mouse. So I'm going to make this around about this size, And as you can see, if I open up my other one, I actually flipped the image. So in order to do this, press Ctrl T, right click on the image and press flip horizontal, and as you guys can see, it will flip it. It doesn't really matter what placement it is in. I'm just going to move it over a little bit here, and around about there is good for this character. If you guys want to find PNGs of more Fortnite characters, I'm going to leave a link to this site, which is called fnbr.co, and they have a lot of PNGs on here, and you can literally go ahead, right click it, open the image in a new tab, and once it does open up, you can right click and save it. So if you want some PNGs, I recommend this site. As I said, I'll leave a link, and you can go ahead and just open up one and put it into your background. So once you guys have done this, you want to go ahead and change the color of your background. Now, in order to do this, you want to base it off the color of your skin. So for example, here we've got like a sort of turquoise color skin. So that's the color of the background that we are going to use. So what you want to do is open up the adjustments tab down here in the right hand corner. You want to select gradient map, and this will open up a random color gradient. It really doesn't matter, just select it and you can go ahead and choose your color. So we're going to go from black to a turquoise color, so I'm just going to select a color similar to the skin, which is around about here, and press OK. You can also go ahead and edit the slider if you do want more turquoise in the actual background itself, but I believe this does look good, so I'm going to press OK and exit out. Okay guys, so now what we're going to do is go ahead and add some effects and also coloring to the Fortnite character itself. So what you want to do is double click on the Fortnite character, open up the layer styles page, and you want to select inner glow on here. Once the inner glow is open, you want to select white and press OK, and you can mess around with the opacity. This will make it either brighter or darker, so I'm going to put mine on around about 72. Of course, it does depend on what character you are using. If I hide it here, you can see it adds a nice glow when I do enable it. So I'm going to mess around with the sizing here. We're going to put this on around about, let's say like 10. I think that's a good size, and the blend mode is on overlay, and we can press OK once we have done this. Now what I'm going to do is mess around with the brightness and contrast of the character. So I'm going to go to the adjustments layer down at the bottom, brightness and contrast, and this will open up a separate tab, and you want to make the contrast go up a bit. So I'm going to say to around about 25, and once you have done this, you want to right click on the layer and go to create clip and mask. Doesn't really make too much of a difference on this character, so you can increase it or even decrease it if you wish, but I think if you increase it to anywhere from like 20 to like 50, it does look good. So guys, looking at this thumbnail, as you can see, the main thing we are missing is the text. So in order to add this, all you have to do is make sure you have the Burbank font downloaded if you don't already. So just right click on it, go to install, and that will install for you. And you also want to make sure you have the layer styles loaded. By this I mean they are loaded into your layer styles tab on your Photoshop. So in order to do this, just make any random text you want, open up the layer styles on that text, go to styles, and then press this little cog icon and go to load styles, and then you just need to find that layer style wherever you saved it on your computer, and it will load these two layer styles that I did include for you guys. So guys, in order to add the text, all you have to do is make sure your text tool is selected, make sure the font is on Burbank already if it is not, and you just want to select anywhere on your screen and you can type in your text. So I'm just going to put Fortnite, make sure it is all caps because it looks a whole lot better. You can use your move tool here to just move the text around, so I'm going to put it around about here because we are adding a lot of text, as you guys can see. So I'm going to put Fortnite, and in order to keep the same like settings of this text, because I do have mine on italic, I'm just going to press Ctrl J on my keyboard to duplicate that text. We can move it down here. We're going to change this to thumbnail, and as you can see, it's a little big, so I'm going to press Ctrl T, hold down Shift, and make this smaller so it does cut off around about like the same sort of size as the Fortnite text. I'm going to move it down a little bit so there is some spacing, and I'm going to press Ctrl J on this layer and it will duplicate that one more time, and I'm going to change this to tutorial and make sure it's the same sort of gap. And also this doesn't really look too centered, so I'm going to hold down Shift on the top text, Shift on the bottom, and I'm just going to center this here. If you don't have your rulers on, you just press Ctrl R, and then you can press Ctrl H, and that will actually enable you to add like rulers in the center, which will go ahead and make it a whole lot easier for you to center text. So guys, now what we're going to do is add the layer styles. So I showed you how to actually load them on your Photoshop, so it's really easy to add them. But before we do, I'm just going to group all of the text here. So just hold shift on the top, shift on the bottom, press the group icon, and you can open that up now, and you can see all of the layers inside the group. So I'm going to double click on where it says Fortnite, and that will open up the layer styles one more time, and you want to select the first layer style for the first bit of text. Of course, it does depend on what text you have wrote on the thumbnail, and then once we have done this, we are going to use the other layer style for the other bits of text. So as you can see, the main layer style has been added to the text, but there is more work we need to do. If I zoom in here, you guys can see that there's like a 3D sort of text effect going on this thumbnail. So in order to do this, it's really simple. I'm gonna hide the layer styles here by pressing this arrow icon, just so it looks a whole lot cleaner. And you want to basically duplicate each layer and add this. So we're gonna start off with the Fortnite text here. If I zoom in, it will make it so you guys can see it easier. I just use Ctrl+ to zoom in. And if I go ahead and duplicate this text, so just press Ctrl J to duplicate that on my keyboard, and we can use the bottom text now in order to create this effect. So make sure your bottom text is selected, and using the arrow keys on your keyboard, you can go ahead and just move the text down. I'm going to move it down around about like 5 maybe spaces on the keyboard. It does depend on what you guys like the look of. So now what you guys need to do is double click on this text layer to open up the layer styles, and you want to actually deselect a lot of these features. So we're going to deselect bevel and emboss, deselect stroke. You can keep inner glow and get rid of gradient overlay, and instead of gradient, we're going to go to color overlay. So now what you need to do is go ahead and use a darker color than that stroke. So in order to do this, I basically select the stroke color, and it will make it so it's the same exact color, and then we're just going to make it go down a little bit on the color palette here, and as you can see, it will create a nice shadow effect. And I'm going to press OK again, and if we wish, we can actually move this down even more, but I think this looks really nice. And now we're going to do the same exact thing to the other text. In order for the text to stand out even more, what I'm going to do is close the group and then double click on the group layer, go to drop shadow, and just simply add a very small drop shadow like I have at the moment. I have it on multiply, a size, well no, an opacity of around about 46, spread is on 20, and then the size is on 10, and basically this just makes the text stand out a whole lot more. You can increase the opacity if you want it to stand out loads, but it does look pretty bad, so I'm just going to keep the text on around about like 40 and press OK. The next thing we need to do is add the text outline. If I zoom out of the other one here, you can see that the text has a certain outline which is overlaid in the background. Now this is quite hard to explain, but I will try and make it easy for you guys. You can slow down the video if you wish, but all you need to do is duplicate this text layer here, and then you will have two. So now what you want to do is get rid of the drop shadow on the group. You want to open up the group here, and you want to get rid of the duplicated layers. So where you've got the second tutorial, get rid of that. I've got the second thumbnail, get rid of that. Basically getting rid of the shadow that we literally just created. And you also want to get rid of the layer styles on all of them. So you can just get rid of everything, or you can just like press deselect, clear layer style. It doesn't matter how you do it. So just, yeah, clear them all, so they have no layer style whatsoever, and also no drop shadow whatsoever. And now what you want to do is press Ctrl E on that group, and as you can see, it's literally just the text. That's all it is. And you want to also make sure the fill is on 0%. So now you literally can't see any text whatsoever until you add a layer style. So double click on it, go to stroke, make the color, I'm going to say white, press OK, and make the size around about 2. Actually, you can make the color whatever color theme you are going for. So I'm going to select like a turquoise color, press OK, and just put this below the text. And if we increase the size, and as you guys can see, there is a nice outline effect created on the thumbnail. And I'm also going to drag this text below the Fortnite character just so it goes behind it, and we're going to right click on it, rasterize the layer style, and we're going to change the blending option of this to overlay. If you want it to stand out even more, you can press Ctrl J. That will duplicate it and make it stand out even more. And I think this looks really nice. It just adds more detail to the actual thumbnail itself and makes it a whole lot more professional. So now we have a lot of the basics done. You guys can roll with this thumbnail if you wish, but we're going to make it look a whole lot better. So what we're going to do is open up the resource pack and drag and drop the explosion image into the document, and you want to size it up a bit just so it looks a whole lot better. And we're going to put it behind the character here. As you guys can see, the color of it currently is like an orange explosion color, of course. So you want to change this. In order to do it, you want to use the gradient map, which we used before. So rasterize the layer first of all, go to the gradient map, make sure the gradient map color is going from a black color to the same color theme as you are going for. So I'm going to select like the turquoise green color, and I'm going to drag the slider so it stands out a whole lot more. Press OK, exit out. Make sure it is clipping masked onto the explosion layer. As you guys can see right now, this is what it will look like, and I think it looks so nice. It just adds more detail, of course, to the thumbnail. So yes guys, as you can see, that is it. Really simple to add the explosion, but we are going to go ahead and duplicate this. So press Control on both layers. You can press Control J and then Control E, and that will merge everything. And then you want to make this layer go above the Fortnite character and also above the text. And as you can see, if you select the blend mode screen, it will add this nice glow onto the text, but the Fortnite character has way too much of a glow. So I'm going to use the eraser tool just to erase it here and also over here, and this looks perfect. However, an issue I have found here, you guys can see the explosion is cut off at the top here, so you can use the eraser to simply get rid of that. Where it does cut off, and it will look perfectly fine. And I think the text looks really nice now. It's got this nice stroke, it's got a nice outline, and also a nice glow. So guys, now what we're going to do is improve the background a little. As you guys can see on this one, I have a nice particle effect. You can't really see it too well, but when I add it to this one, you will be able to see it. So I'm going to grab the resource pack, and there will be a particle background inside there. Drag and drop it. Make sure it is by the background layer over here, and you want to go to image on it, adjustments, black and white, and you want to press OK, and that will make that background black and white. And now what we can do is change the blending option mode to overlay, and it will create this really nice particle effect and also darken the background a little. The next effect we are going to add to the background is going to be the sunburst effect. So drag and drop that into your document, press OK, and as you can see, it is colored also like the particle background. So we're going to go back to image, adjustments, black and white, just use the default, and then go ahead and change this blending mode to overlay as well. And as you can see, it will create this nice sunburst effect going behind the text. So now we're going to go back up to the top of our layers here, and you want to grab the smoke image, drag and drop that into the document, and just go ahead and move it down a little. And you want to change the blending option of this to screen, and also you can go ahead and rasterize the layer if you wish, but as you can see is way too much. So we're going to go ahead and decrease the opacity here to, I'm going to say around about like 18%, and it just adds a nice smoke effect to the bottom of the thumbnail. So guys, the next thing we need to add is a victory royale logo at the bottom. So this is in the pack that I included, so just drag and drop that, and you can go ahead and change the size of it. So I'm going to make it around about this big. I think that looks good, and you can also tilt it as well if you think that looks nice. Press enter on your keyboard once it is done, and now we're going to go ahead and change the colors of this to make it stand out a whole lot more. Also, you can go ahead and drag this below the smoke and also below the lighting, so just above the text, and you can go ahead and change the colors as well, like I said. So I'm going to rasterize it, go to the color adjustments, go to brightness and contrast, right click it, create clipping mask, and we're just going to go ahead and increase the contrast. And then once we have done that, we're going to go back here, go to hue and saturation, make sure it's clipping masked once again to the victory royale PNG, and then increase the saturation of this, and it will make the colors a whole lot brighter. You can also add a drop shadow to the victory royale PNG, so just double click on it, go to drop shadow, and you can go ahead and add a nice drop shadow effect to that if you wish. I'm going to put one here on around about 29% and press OK. So guys, the next effect we are going to add is going to be the stroke outline going around the thumbnail. This is really simple to add. Make a brand new layer, go to the rectangle marquee tool, select the whole thumbnail, right click it, go to stroke and make sure the width is on 2 and the location is inside and the color is on white. Press OK, OK again, and you can press Ctrl D to deselect that layer, and you can now change the blending mode on the right hand side to overlay, and it creates a nice line effect going around the side. Now we're just going to add some color corrections. So go to the color adjustments here, go to brightness and contrast, and you want to increase the contrast to around about 40, and then the next thing you want to do is go to hue and saturation, increase the saturation to around about 32, and then also the last thing after that is curves, which you can mess around with depending on your thumbnail. So I'm just going to go and make this bottom curve here go down a bit, and also the top curve go up a bit, and that will just mess around with the colors a little, make it a bit darker and a bit more contrasty, and we can press X on that, and this is basically the thumbnail almost done. In order to add the last effects, all you have to do is press shift on the top layer, shift on the bottom, group all of the layers together. You can just name this PSD or whatever, and now you will have everything in one single group. You can press Ctrl J on this and then Ctrl E to merge it into one single layer. I'm going to name this image, and now we're just going to go ahead and add a couple of effects. So I'm going to press Ctrl J on this layer, and we will have now 2 of them. So you can go to filter, other, select high pass, make sure the radius is on around about 1.5 pixels. I'm going to say press OK, and you can change the blending mode of this to overlay, and if we zoom in you can see it adds so much more detail to the thumbnail, makes it look a whole lot better. So in order to add more effects, we're going to group everything together one more time. Press Ctrl J, go to filter, select blur, Gaussian blur, make sure the radius is on around about 2 pixels this time. Grab the eraser and you can make it whatever size you want, just make sure the hardness is on 0%, and you can erase off the parts where the blur is on the text, and it will just blur the background for you there, and also anything else you want blurred, it will do that for you. So I think this looks really nice. We're going to group all of these layers together again, Ctrl J one more time, and we're going to add our topaz lapse effect, which I said at the start, if you don't have already, I recommend you get, because it works really well for Fortnite thumbnails. So I'm going to use the crisp style on this plugin, and I'm going to make the strength of this around about 1. Press OK, and it will add this nice effect and make it look a whole lot cleaner. And the last effect to do is press Ctrl on both of these, press Ctrl E, Ctrl J one last time, go to filter, select sharpen, and then press sharpen here, and it will make everything a whole lot sharper and stand out. Also guys, one final effect I'm going to go ahead and add, which I did forget to add, but honestly it really doesn't matter. In the resource pack, I'm going to grab the action lines image. I'm going to increase the size of this here to around about this size, I'm going to say. Make sure that it is centered, of course. So I've got my rulers here, press enter, and I'm going to change the blending mode to, I'm going to try color dodge. There we go. This looks nice. So the color dodge basically grabs the colors from the surroundings and uses those, and I think this looks dope. You can go ahead and reduce the opacity of this if you wish, but I think around about 100% this looks really nice. So guys, that is it for the thumbnail tutorial. As you can see, it's basically exactly the same as this. If not, I think it looks a whole lot better actually. Regardless, if you did go on to enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like. That would be much appreciated. As I mentioned before, if we can reach 250 likes on this video, I'll leave a link to the PSD of this in the description down below for you guys to use. Also guys, if this video did help you and you want to see more graphic design tutorials, please consider subscribing to the channel. It would be much appreciated. And finally guys, if you want to go ahead and improve your graphic design skills, I recommend you check out my store, which will be linked in the description down below, sellfi.com/visualjd. On there I sell a load of graphic design packs which will help you with designing. Anyways guys, that is it for the video. I'm going to end it off here. This has been really long, so hopefully you did enjoy it. This has been Visual or James, and I'm out. Peace.
Not the same, we're not the same. We're not the same, we're not the same. Not the same, we're not the same. We're not the same, we're not the same. What they call you, that's a different name.